Buying a home. It's huge, right? Maybe the biggest purchase you'll ever make. And when you're doing that, information is everything. It's the foundation of a fair deal. But what happens when someone starts hiding that info from you? What happens then? Well, that's what we're going to dig into.
You've probably heard this one from the man himself, Warren Buffett. He said, "Price is what you pay and value is what you get." It sounds so simple, right? But it's this brilliant idea that's at the core of pretty much every big decision we make with our money. We're always trying to figure out if the value actually matches the price tag. Okay, but here's the kicker. How can you figure out the value if the key pieces of information, the metrics that tell you what something is really worth, are hidden from you? It's like you're suddenly flying blind, trying to navigate this massive, life-changing decision completely in the dark. And let's get one thing straight. You, as a consumer, have a right to know what you're getting into before you fork over your hard-earned cash. This isn't some special privilege. It's a basic, fundamental part of how a fair market is supposed to work, especially when we're talking about a home, a place to live. So all of this brings us to this big disagreement that's been bubbling up in the real estate world. You could almost call it a tale of two completely different philosophies. And right at the center of this whole fight is one little piece of data. It's called days on market, or DOM for short. All it is the number of days a property has been listed for sale. Sounds simple, but that one number, man, it tells a story. A really important one that, arguably, nobody should be able to just erase. So on one side, you have what you could call the seller's shield argument. The idea here is that if you hide data like days on market, you're protecting the seller's investment, keeping the value high. But then, on the other side, you have the market's truth camp. They say, no way, that's a huge, ginormous mistake. They believe the market only works properly when everything is out in the open, completely transparent. And, this isn't just some inside baseball argument for real estate agents. This whole thing goes way deeper. It gets right to the heart of a fundamental economic idea, the market's invisible hand. Yeah, this idea goes all the way back to Adam Smith. His whole theory of the invisible hand is that markets work best, they're most efficient, when everyone, especially consumers, has good, solid information. When you have that info, you can make smart choices. So if you start withholding that information, well, it's not just unfair, you're actively breaking the engine that makes the whole market run. And that's because, at the end of the day, the market feeds off of truth. You just can't lie to it and expect things to work out. Trying to hide the facts to manipulate things, it's kind of like trying to trick gravity. It's just not going to work out for you in the long run. Okay, so what does this all mean in the real world? What are the actual consequences? Well, it creates a massive problem. It starts to fragment the entire market. When you start making these key metrics hard to find or impossible to find, the fallout is pretty serious. First, it breaks up an already super tight market even more. It creates these situations where buyers can just get totally duped. But what's really scary is that it can open the door for old discriminatory practices to sneak back in. Think about it. If data is hidden, an agent could selectively share info with just some buyers and basically steer other people away from good opportunities, and there'd be no data trail to prove it. That is a huge step backward. Now, you might hear some people defend this. They'll say, oh, it's just like the exclusive launches for new buildings. It's just a marketing thing. But honestly, that's a total apples to oranges comparison. And it just doesn't hold up. And here's why. With a new development, you generally know it exists. You have a good idea of where to look, who to ask. But with these private networks, where listings and data are hidden away in some exclusive group, a regular buyer might not even know a house is on the market. That's not marketing. That's creating a totally unequal playing field. And this is so important because, look, the American real estate market isn't perfect. We all know that. But it's actually the envy of a lot of other countries for one big reason. It's relatively transparent and efficient. And when we start chipping away at that transparency, we're putting that whole advantage, the whole system, at risk. Which really just brings us to the bottom line, the thing you can't get around. Let's call it the non-negotiable truth. So this whole situation is really a wake-up call. It's a message to regulators and to the leaders in the industry that they have got to be vigilant. They have to protect the transparency of a listing's entire story. This isn't just some small detail. We're talking about the integrity of the entire market. Because in the end, it really is this simple. The truth is non-negotiable no matter how you spin it. You can try to hide the days on market number, but you can't hide the fact that the house is for sale. The truth is the truth. And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to think about. We live in a world that's just swimming in data, right? So who gets to decide which parts of it you get to see?